So is red light therapy a fraud, or does it really work for hair loss treatment? I'm here to find that out. My name is Philip and you're watching Philip Talks Health and Fitness. For you guys who just want to have a quick answer if this stuff works, the answer is yes, but the research just isn't that reliable. They are often lacking a lot of information on how they have done their treatment, how they pick up their research group or test people, which kind of device, wavelength, and energy density, how many minutes per session, etc. The list is long, but in this video I want to give you a tool or information or knowledge so that you can decide yourself which kind of devices you want to look at. I've been trying to filter it out. I've been reading studies between 25 to 30 studies, and I begin to see a pattern in all of this, and also a pattern how much information that is lacking on these studies. It is impressive, and you are hearing from the industry how many studies they have done on red light therapy, but what they don't are telling you guys is how many times the studies are lacking on good information, such as how good the results are. So back to the question. If red light therapy really works, yes, it does. And we can just rely back on an old studies back in 1967. And it's all thanks to this guy. Oh, maybe not that. Wait. That guy. That guy was Andrew Mister. He died back in the 80s, but he was like a pioneer researcher or scientist when it comes to photobiostimulation researches or experiments. And this guy was back in the 60s, he was trying to figure out if low-level laser treatment could trigger cells to develop cancer. So he did his experiments on mice, but to his surprise, the result was the opposite. Instead of developing cancer cells, the mice began to heal wound, and even so was increasing their hair growth. So the fact is that we have known this for a quite long time now, that red light can stimulate hair growth. The only question is, and that is maybe the million-dollar question, what kind of light waves are triggering the hair follicles in the best way? So to understand what the researchers and the studies are telling us and what the market is trying to sell to us, we have to understand the concept, what the difference is between the light wave length and the energy density. So the light waves they are always talking about, or the electromagnetic spectrums, as it also calls, is actually the light that we get from the sun. And they have a different levels in this. We have, everybody knows about the UV light, that UV light can stimulate us to provide D vitamins in our body. And it's also one of the main factors that we are aging much more faster if we are staying too long in the sun. And the list is going on here from the blue light to the green light to the yellow light up to the red and near red light, as you can see here. And what these pictures are telling us is that it's all about how much or how deep the light can penetrate in our bodies. So when we know this, we can actually deliver a special amount of energy that can stimulate our cells in different levels in our body, as you can see on the picture here on the right. But the problem is that we don't know how much energy the best effect is for how long time. We just know it works. And the question is very complex because it all depends on how or what is the main factor why you're losing your hair. There are so many different reasons why you can lose your hair, so it's very hard to maybe answer have a correct answer for everyone. So all the studies I've been reading has been all from mixed group, from ages to the genders, and they have also separate genders between male and females. And the reason why they often are separating between female and males is because when it comes to hair loss between the genders, they are different reasons why they are losing it. And it is my general perception that often females are responding differently when it comes to hair loss treatment. I believe that men are more often responding a little bit better than female. That is what I've been noticing when I've been reading a lot of studies, because since I think back in 2015, 2014, I started to realize I began to lose my hair. So I've been reading a lot of studies, and I've been hoping for so many years that the magic pill or magic treatment should pop up. And there has always been a horizon that back in 2020, 2021, 22, 23, the new pill or medicine will come out, but it never happens. So I've been following this kind of studies for quite some time, but I can be totally wrong, so don't judge me, but it's just what my perception is when it comes to the difference between male and females with hair loss treatment. But I have good news for all of you, even if you are young or old, female or male. The studies I found are suggesting that LLT can work for anyone. So let's dive into what I found. So the first study that I found really interesting when it came to women researchers was that they took a group of women that was in the age between 18 to I think was 60. And they also scaled them in the Ludwig saving balding scale. I have never heard of this before, and I'm a little bit embarrassing because I've totally missed this, that they have actually a scale how they are leveling or deciding which kind of baldness level people are. But they did this on the women, and they had this hat or a cap that they were using every day for a 17 weeks period. And the result was quite impressive. The group that had the proper equipment or the treatment actually developed 51% of better hair density, while the so-called fake group or placebo group didn't reach any result at all. So this study suggests that red light therapy does work when it comes to a form of a cap or a helmet. And the red light they were using, or wavelength, was at the 655 nanometers, and that is actually a wavelength they are usually are using when it comes to hair loss treatment. So you probably will hear this one or two or maybe 3 times in this video. So the problem with this study is that they don't mentioning how long they have been doing their treatments every day, and they don't mention how much density they are using. So it's a pity, because the result is quite impressive when it comes to 51%. So another study that I found really interesting, and it's a little bit pity because they didn't put any details in it, but they did a study on 45 women, and they provide them with a so-called red eye therapy helmet. And they split the group, the 45 women, in 3 groups. One group who got the helmet, and one group who just used minoxidil, and the third group was doing the both of the treatments. And all of the 3 groups had quite impressive results, but the group who stand out most was the group who were using the both treatments. And this really suggests that the best thing is to combine your treatments. If you are doing minoxidil, you can do microneedling maybe, or you can do the red light therapy, or you can maybe do the PRP treatments. So doing the combination with all of these kind of different treatments are often showing that you will get better results. With that said, I will also be a little bit careful with all of this, because less is more. I think a lot of people who are hearing this maybe will do everything at once, and I think that will only stress your hair and you will get bad results instead. So that was a few studies about women, but what about men? Well, I found a few studies on men, and a lot of studies was actually on mixed groups, but we'll come to that later. But the first study that I found was really interesting was made on 24 men with androgenic alopecia, also called AGI. They were treated with red and infrared light for 10 minutes daily, and after 14 weeks there was an increase of density on the top and back of their head. And most of the patients were very satisfied with their treatment. So this study is actually suggesting that if you are treating your brain at the same time as doing hair loss treatment, it can still give or provide you with good results. That was actually the biggest study that I've been reading. They had the biggest group for the longest period of time. They did it on 110 men that suffered for AGI, and that is a condition when you are losing hair. And what they did was that they were using a hair loss laser comb. They did this for 3 times a week for a 15 minutes session time over a 26 weeks of period. And they showed increased hair growth and improved hair quality compared to the group that it was using the fake device or shame device. And I think these results are really interesting because they had so many people involved in this research. But the problem is here is that they are not telling us how much energy density they were using. I think that is a very important detail to mention when you are doing this kind of studies. And when I'm looking on all of these kind of devices they are showing us now with helmets and laser comms, I always get flashback back in the 90s when they were doing commercials on Abflex.
Stomach into shape. Introducing Abflex, a scientific breakthrough that allows safe abdominal development without back strain. A 3-minute Abflex workout produces better results than 500 sit-ups.
But then again, the result shows that the laser comm are working. The only problem is we don't know which kind of energy density you should looking for if we want to buy one. So I just had to pick this last study. It can't be a coincidence, and I found the study was really interesting too because the result was reported in a way that I haven't read before. And they did a study on a group of male who suffered of AGI. They gave them a red light therapy helmet who were delivering a wavelength on 655 nanometers and who delivered around 67 joule. And that is actually something I will talk about in another video what that means. And they did this study for 16 weeks period. And the result was that they increased the hair with 35%. And that is the first time I've ever read that they are actually showing any percent on how much hair they improved. And the reason why I think it is quite interesting with this kind of results and how they did this study is that the first device that I searched on when it comes to hair loss treatment with red light was Mido Red Light's helmet. And it's thanks to a channel called Red Light Therapy with Alex Fergus, I believe. If you haven't watched his channel, do it. He is one of the few who are able to testing a lot of different brands. So I highly recommend you guys to watch his videos. So the study that I just told you guys about is very similar how the Mido Red Light are using their helmet. And I'm gonna quote this, and I'm gonna pick my iPad here, and it says, "It is recommended that you use the laser LED device for 25 minutes every other day for 16 weeks. After 16 weeks, you may wish to continue using the device for 25 minutes every other day according to your own goals." And when I'm scrolling down further down on the manual for this device, they are showing that they're using laser wavelength on 650 to 660 nanometers, and the red light LED wavelength on 640 to 660 nanometers. So my belief is it can be a coincidence, but it really feels that Mitre Red Light has something going on here. Maybe they know something we don't know, but it's really interesting that how the research or the study that I mentioned is very similar to how the Mitre Red Light are suggesting and recommend you to use their devices. Can be a coincidence, but I thought it was interesting. So what is my conclusion when it comes to hair loss treatment with red light? Well, just based on my own results, I am a believer on that this stuff works. I think the red light have improved me in such a different levels, but definitely that it has increased my hair density, has improved the strength in my hair, and even so have awakened some hair follicles. So I got a little bit more hair than I had before. And I think also that one main factor why this really works was that it helped me to sleep a little bit better, and therefore have been able to relax more and be a little bit more less stressed. So if you haven't watched my 200 days review for my red light therapy treatments, I highly recommend you guys to watch it. So if we're going back to my conclusion with the studies, I definitely believe that the sweet spot is the 650 nanometer wavelength. This is the wavelength that has popped up the most of the times after all the studies I've been reading about. And also if you are using the near infrared light to stimulate your brain, I believe that it doesn't have any harmful effect on your hair result if you are using the both wavelength. That is, if you want to do hair loss treatment and you want to do brain stimulation treatment at the same time. So when it comes to how many sessions you have to do every week, I believe that you can get good results by just doing every other day. There's a lot of studies that shows that you can get good results every other day, or even so just do it 3 times per week. So I believe in this case maybe less is more, but there are also studies that shows that you can do every day and still get good results. So when it comes to the energy density, I believe that the low energy density has the most effective way to get good results when it comes into long term. I read some studies that they were using higher energy density for a shorter period of time, and they got good results with that. But it seems like when every studies that I've been reading that are doing it for a more longer period of time, they are usually using a lower energy density. And that means that they are more at the 20 to the 90 milliwatt range. So most of the studies I've been reading has been all from 1 week long to a few months long. But one of the studies also shows that immediately when you stop using the treatment, you will lose the gains that you got. So this is not a one-time solution. You have to do it continually and put it into your lifestyle. Now, a lot of these devices are suggesting they are using LED lights or laser lights, and I actually have been reading a few studies that suggest that both of the lights are giving similar results. So I don't really know if when it comes to the hair loss treatment, if the laser is better than the LED light, but general speaking, they are very similar when it comes to results. So maybe that can help you guys to pick up maybe a cheaper device. I believe that the laser devices are much more expensive. So if you are in a situation just like me, that you already have a red light panel and you are considering buying a red light helmet, but you're not sure if it's gonna make any difference? I believe the answer is no, because you probably have a really good device already back home. For example, my own red light device, I can dim the energy density if I wanted to, and the brightness on the light. And I can also just move from the device. The more distance I got from my device, the less energy density I will get exposed. And I believe that you can mimic a lot of these studies that I've been reading about. But I believe also that if you already have quite thick hair, that can be a problem, that the light will be able to reach down to the scalp. So that maybe is a better alternative to use a laser comb or the helmet or whatever devices they have now. So if you are like me that has a little bit thinner hair, I believe that the light will reach down to the scalp anyway. Another thing that I've been trying to figure out is how long time you should do your session time with hair loss treatment with red light. And this is a really hard question to answer, because all the studies are having all different energy density, different wavelength, and also different session time. But I believe that if you have a lower energy density, you can do more than 10 minutes. It seems that you can do more to the 15 to the 20 minutes treatment on your scalp. But then again, don't forget that the maximum time or the limit for getting exposed for red light is 30 minutes. And that is also a little picky question, because if you are using a lower energy density on your body, it maybe should be that you can get exposed more than the 30 minutes, but I'm not really sure on that either. So guys, that is all of my conclusion. It's maybe is more question marks than answer, but I think it's really hard to be very precise and certain of some of this stuff, because there are lacking a lot of information on these studies. And I believe that they have to do more researches about it. But there are other things too. As I mentioned before, the channel Red Light Therapy with Alex Fergus, I believe he was mentioning one term that I haven't heard about before. He called it systemic effect, I think. And that means that if you are getting exposed with red light on some body part, it doesn't mean that you only are treating that area. You actually can treating some other area on your body, which means that I believe that if you are treating your face, maybe it will also affect the scalp. So that is also a very interesting theory, that you maybe don't have to have all of these devices that are delivering light on your scalp. You may be good enough just to treating your face and a little bit on the front, and that will cover most of it. So yet again, a question mark. So guys, that is all for today. If you found any value in this, please hit the like button. And I'm not gonna say the subscribe thing, because I believe it doesn't affect you anyway. If you like my channel and what I'm trying to do here, subscribe. No one more than me will get more happier, but at least considering to hit the like button so this video will spread, and even so my channel. So thank you then again that you are watching this, and I hope I see you in my next video. Take care. Bye.